Man, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you. And I've said this before. This year is, I don't think, quite like any other year, where I'm just as confused as the next man. And I follow this thing probably as closely as one can follow the league without having some kind of affiliation with it. I mean, it is crazy. And yet I am just as baffled as to what's going to happen from week to week. Who's any good? Are there any true elite teams in the league this year? I mean, there are so many questions, no answers really to speak of at this point of the season, which I think makes for great theater. Everyone thinks they have a chance. You know, my team's 3-6, and I'm sitting here acting as if we have a shot because that's how wide open this thing is this year. And it's almost got me feeling like Marvin Gaye right now. Hey, what's going on? I don't know what's going on, but I can tell you one thing. This is going to be one hell of a ride. Buckle up. Should be a lot of fun. Who else could it be? For me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 224th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. We're going to get to week 10 slate skating, so go ahead, get your skates on, lace those up, get them nice and tight. We don't want any ankle sprains out here as we run through the entire slate of Sunday games and break them down one by one. We'll do that a little bit later on in the show, but as you know, we always like to get to the Gem Droppin Session first, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight to the proceedings this evening. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit, man. Open that noggin up. Let this information rain down on your brain. Drop these gems on your melon real quick. So today in particular, I want to kind of piggyback off of a conversation that we had on overtime last night after the Rams were destroyed. Okay, it was our first look at the super team Rams, and it was an epic fail. Now, it was the first of many times we hope to see those guys together on one field. And we'll see if they get better and better as time progresses. Obviously, Odell Beckham literally just got there, 5 days ago. So not much was expected of him last night. Von Miller still nursing a hamstring. They don't want to really push him too hard. I don't think he played a ton of snaps, but he played enough out there to have an impact, and he didn't. So enough, of a sample size for what we thought we were going to see, but not enough of a sample size to make any kind of determining factor or a determination, on what these guys are going to be and what the Rams ultimately are going to be when it's all said and done, and it looks more like a finished product. That said, a wise man, or a few wise men, once told me, money can't buy you love. Buy me love. Money can't buy me love. Money can't buy you a Super Bowl championship. It can buy you a ring. Okay? It can buy you a nice shiny ring. But it can't buy you a Super Bowl championship ring. Okay? Never seen one of those purchased by an entire team. I've seen people go on eBay and, hard times get hard, man. Times are rough. And a guy has to sell that championship ring. I've seen them purchased that way. I've never seen an entire 53-man roster purchase Super Bowl championship rings. So what the Rams are trying to do has been tried before. Many have tried in the past. Most have failed, if not all have failed. I can't say all with 100% certainty because there may be one or two teams out there that kind of came together last minute, spent a bunch of money, and we know it happens in other sports, but in this particular sport, in the NFL, Championships aren't bought. They are earned and won. And that first look, that first glance we got of the Rams last night, man, it was ugly. And, you know, a lot of questions have been brought up. I've brought some of them to the table myself about this Rams team. And I've talked about this over the course of the season. It started when they were destroyed, because generally elite teams, they don't get destroyed. And you have bad weeks from time to time. Everyone has them. You know, that one week where nothing goes right. You know, you can't even tie your shoes correctly. And it's just one of those days. Snaps aren't, you know, you can't even get the center quarterback exchange correct. Like, there are just days where things just don't go well. And those happen every now and again. They're rare for the upper echelon teams. But, you know, getting your ass handed to you thoroughly, I mean, literally getting your ass cleaned and wiped, shined up, then smacked around, and then handed back to you. That doesn't happen generally 2-3 times in a year when you're an elite or upper echelon team. But that's what's happened to the Rams this year. They got smacked around by the Rams. They got bitch slapped by the Titans. Both of those were at home, by the way. And then they went to San Francisco and got the snot beat out of them. And now we're all kind of looking at the Rams out of the side of our eye. They're getting the side eye like, you're supposed to be a super team? This is what you spent all of that money for and all this draft capital for? This is what you traded for Jalen Ramsey for? This is what you traded for Von Miller for? This is why you acquired Odell Beckham Jr. for this? Obviously, and I said this last night, I'm going to say it again just so you know where I stand on this. This is not a finished product. Far from it. Von Miller's not 100% healthy. Odell Beckham Jr. is not 100% up to speed. They've got a lot of work to do, and they lost Robert Woods, which I think people aren't talking about enough. He was such an integral part of that football team's fabric of what they do offensively. So they're going to miss him, and there's no replacing what Robert Woods brings to the table. It's not like he was a number one wide receiver, but he did things for that offense that a lot of receivers don't want to do. He did the dirty work. And it's hard to find Jarvis Landry type guys, but that's the kind of guy Robert Woods was for that football team. He did all the dirty work, and he wasn't one of those guys that made a lot about nothing. You know, he wasn't going to make noise if he only had 3 catches in a game. But it was rare that he only had 3 catches in a game. Because even if he only had 3 catches, he still had 3 or 4 more touches in jet sweep form, and so he still touched it 7 or 8 times. But he also blocked his ass off. He was a selfless guy. They're going to miss him. Odell Beckham Jr. isn't coming down and cracking a defensive end. He's not lead blocking in the A-gap for the running back and taking on a linebacker head on. That's not Odell Beckham Jr., okay? So there's no replacing what they just lost in Robert Woods. That said, they got to figure it out because, again, this is a 1-year trial that they have. There's no guarantee that Von Miller's back, even though they said they would like to have him back. There's no guarantee he's back next year. There's no guarantee that Odell Beckham Jr. is back after this season. This is, for all intents and purposes, a 1-year test trial. You got 1 year, and really it's not a full year. You got 3 months to figure this shit out. You got 3 months to get all of these guys on one accord and try and win a Super Bowl. Because if it doesn't work, I've already said this, the only way all these moves the Rams have made are worth it is if they hoist the Lombardi. If they win a Super Bowl, all they have to do is win 1. They don't have to win 3 or 4. If they just win 1 Super Bowl, the first that the Rams organization would have ever won, if they were to win 1 Super Bowl, then everything they've done is worth it. All the draft picks they've spent, and traded away, and not having a draft pick in the first round for 8 years, and not having second round picks and third round picks throughout that time as well, and really pushing all your chips to the center of the table, and what I feel like is mortgaging the future, because eventually not having first round and second round, that's going to catch up with them eventually in the long run. They may be able to circumvent that now, but eventually that's going to catch up with them. So if they don't win a Super Bowl, it'll all be for naught. And then you're staring at a future that doesn't look all that bright. Now, the demise of the Rams 7 years from now could be grossly overstated, because we don't know the situation. The Rams seem to always find a way to dance around the numbers, make them work, and find ways to get really good football players. So maybe the whole demise of the Rams 5 to 7 years from now, because of all this draft capital they've given away, maybe that's grossly overstated. And maybe we'll find out down the road, wow, the Rams, they knew better than all of us. But in the here and now, if they don't win a championship, and you cannot buy a ring, not a championship one, in this league, if they don't win, it's the equivalent of what the Brooklyn Nets were last year in the NBA. Like, had they not gotten injured and they didn't win the championship, we would be killing them right now. But they got injured, and there's nothing you can do about injuries. Same thing with this Rams team. If they get injured and have some big, and they've already had one guy go down, and Robert Woods, as I mentioned, then they'll get a pass. You'll say, look, man, it's a war of attrition in this league. We know it to be the truth. It's not always the best team. It's the most healthy team come January. A lot of times. That's what it usually boils down to is, hey, that team's way more talented, but 8 of their guys that they count on as key contributors, they're on IR right now. So they're not the same team that we looked at on paper before the season started. They're not the same team that we saw in week 6. They've got so many guys injured now. So if they're relatively healthy and all the guys that they've brought in to make this championship run a reality, if they're healthy and they don't get it done, they're going to be heavily scrutinized, and rightfully so. They were awful last night. I mean, that wasn't just, oh man, they had an off night. They were terrible last night. They couldn't catch. They couldn't execute. They couldn't tackle. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop Deebo Samuel. You know, someone sent me something on socials. I think it was my man Jay. I'm going to pull it up real quick. So I can say who it was. It was at _ Jaker. Okay. My guy JR. He sent me a video last night of Aaron Donald. I don't know if you guys saw this, right? So Aaron Donald's at the post-game presser, and a reporter asked him the following. Matter of fact, let me see if I can't play this real quick for y'all. I might be able to get it to play for you guys off my mobile device. Let's see if I turn this thing on up. Can you guys hear this? Listen to this. This is Aaron Donald at the press conference. Okay, so when I saw that, and I'm like, wait, this is a joke, right? Seriously. The 49ers' best player on offense is Deebo Samuel. George Kittle, 1A, 1B. Okay, pick your poison. But those are the two guys that you go into a game having to stop. And remember last night I made this big stink about how Raheem Morris, shame on you. Because obviously your players don't know who Deebo Samuel is, because in the most critical situations, you got to know who's getting the football and you got to stop that guy. And the fact that you didn't just take Jalen Ramsey and take him out of the game, or your players didn't know where he was at all times and let him on a 4th and 6 catch the same route he's been running for the last 3 years as a receiver for the 49ers, that same drift route, that same little slant over the middle of the football field. The fact that on 4th and 6, Kyle Shanahan is comfortable enough going to his bread and butter and you look like you had never seen the play before speaks volumes. I said shame on Raheem Morris. But this takes it to a new level. The fact that Aaron Donald, your best player defensively, and granted, he's a D lineman, so really, who's playing receiver shouldn't really matter to him, right? But as a whole, okay, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm having my defensive meeting with every single positional group, and we're installing the defense, and we're sitting down and we're taking a look at this 49ers offense, you're going to know who Deebo Samuel is. From the defensive tackle to the defensive end to the defensive backs who will be trying to cover him. Everyone will know who 19 is. He's their best player. The fact that Aaron Donald, who's been in the league now for about 8 years or so, 7 or 8 years, and Deebo Samuel has now been in the league for 3 years, and he's played against Deebo Samuel 2 times per year. Okay, so 6 times at a minimum, 5 times, because I don't think they've played the 49ers twice this year. So at a minimum, he's played against the Deebo Samuel San Francisco 49ers 5 times in his career. And the fact that this man doesn't even know who he is speaks volumes. It speaks to the lack of attention to detail by the Rams staff. And that's not a Sean McVay thing. Sean McVay doesn't know what the hell's going on defense, and he doesn't care. As long as they're getting the job done, he could care less about what's going on defense. His thing, you look at Sean during the games, and he doesn't know what's going on defense. The offense comes off the field, and he's talking to Matthew Stafford. His back's turned to the field while the defense is on the field. He doesn't care. He's leaving that portion of the team to his defensive staff, okay? He's delegating that. He's always done that, whether it was Wade Phillips, it was Brandon Staley last year, or now it's Raheem Morris. He's delegating all of that to the defensive side. But don't think for 1 second Sean McVay isn't pissed that his best defensive player doesn't even know who the 49ers' best offensive player is. That's a problem for me. And that just goes to show you that this Rams team, they're not well coached on the defensive side of the football. That can't happen. Your best player cannot be that in the dark about the other team's best player. I get it. He's a defensive lineman. His job is to get the quarterback or stop the running back. It's not to cover receivers. But the fact that he didn't even know who Deebo Samuel is lets me know that they're not doing a good enough job over there in figuring out what they need to do to take away what the other team does best. They just think, hey, we got Von Miller, we got Aaron Donald, we got Gumby, and we got Jalen Ramsey, and we just going to roll these brothers out. We're just going to roll them out, and we're just going to dominate, okay? We don't worry about what you have or what you do best. We're just going to roll our dudes out because we're better than you. Oh, yeah? Interesting. Yeah. I just thought that that was hilarious. Thank you for that, JR. Really appreciate you sending me that on socials. And I'm telling you, this Rams team is in trouble. As is, they're in trouble. Now, again, improvements can be made. They can get better. Just like the Buccaneers, this time last year, we were talking about a Buccaneers team that was in trouble. They had a bye week in like week 12. They came off, or week 13, they came off the bye, and they didn't lose another game the rest of the season, won the Super Bowl. Things change. Teams gel. They mesh, and they end up playing great ball. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with this Rams team. I'm not saying that it won't. I'm just telling you right now, as is, they're in trouble. Money can't buy you a Super Bowl ring. It can buy you a ring. It just won't be a championship one. This league is crazy right now, and anybody can win. The 3-6 Chicago Bears can win the Super Bowl this year. Think about that for a second. They're not going to, but they could, right? Like, that's how wide open this thing is. Let's transition. That's the perfect segue into our Week 10 edition of Slate Skatin. I've already told you to get your skates on. Let's jump into this thing and talk about week number 10 in the National Football League. So let's go Slate Skatin, shall we? And we're going to go through this slate of games, man. This is the third week in a row where it's just haywire, man. Anything is on the table. Nothing's out of bounds. Anybody can get got. And if you're not on your best behavior, you too can be reached out and touched. And it's unbelievable. But yet, here we are talking about another week in the league where up is down, left is right, and everything is upside down. So it started, and what was funny is it started on Thursday night with the Ravens losing to the Dolphins. And I remember a number of people say, uh-oh, here comes another crazy week. And I'm like, nah, that's just the Thursday night game. Like, I don't know if that applies to the rest of the week. And Washington fans were like, hey, if the Dolphins can do it, we can do it. I'm like, nah, that's not how this works. And, it was funny. Everybody's fan base that, we're massive underdogs. We're coming out of the woodwork. Hey, Miami did it. Why not us? The Jets did it, a couple of weeks ago. Why not us? The Jags did it to the Bills. Why not? And I'm like, it doesn't, hey, it doesn't work that way. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. So let's start the Week 10 slate skating foray with a trip to Big D, Cowboys, Falcons. Wow. This one got ugly in a hurry. People try to when ass whoopings like this. First of all, 43-3 was the final score in this game. Dallas bounces back from an ugly showing the week prior where they were on the verge of being shut out by the Denver Broncos with like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was 30-0. And they put up a 40 burger. I mean, a vicious, flavored, delicious 40 burger. I mean, they took just the absolute biggest bite of that 40 burger, and they got juices dripping down their wrist. My goodness. I mean, there's nothing more embarrassing as a fan of a team than watching the other team's starters on the sidelines, cup of Gatorade, laughing, teeth showing, smiling, bumping each other, laughing about what they did in the second quarter of the game, or laughing about a dude that has no business being in the game. Almost like when you're in the NBA and the end of the bench dude gets in and he makes a shot and everybody goes wild. Oh shit, did you see Bobby? Bobby made a three. Oh my God. That's what the Cowboys were doing with about 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Oh my God. This was embarrassing. And everybody wanted to just kind of simplify the ass whooping to, hey, the Cowboys converted on fourth down and the Falcons didn't. And I'm like, no, you don't lose by 40 just because you went 0 of 2 on fourth down and they went 2 of 2 on fourth down. Now it helps that the Cowboys converted their 2 fourth downs and the Falcons did not. But at some point, you got to make some plays. You got to get some stops. You got to score some points. You got to stop them from scoring points. And the Falcons just never did that in this game. They were absolutely horrid in this game. This looked like the Falcons from earlier this season when I thought they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league, and not the team that has been hyper competitive the last 2 months of the season, really. The September Falcons, they were put to bed in October and to this point of November, but the September Falcons came back in this game. This was scary right here. Matt Ryan, probably statistically one of his worst games of his NFL career. 9 of 21 for 117 yards and 2 interceptions. Meanwhile, the Cowboys could do no wrong. They scored 29 points in the second quarter. This score was 36-3 at halftime. I was questioning whether Dak Prescott even needed to play the second half, because the worst thing that could have happened is that he strained his calf muscle, which he's been dealing with this season, in a meaningless second half of a game that you had already won in the first half. And then that would have been all the talk, on Dallas radio stations and news programs and things like that. That would have been all the rage. What the hell was he doing in the game anyway? Thought that their head coach took way too long to get him out of there. But that said, this was a total ass thrash. And I kept waiting for the Falcons to make this look somewhat respectable, like score 17 points in the final, 10 minutes of the game, and it's 20. It ended up being, 43-20. It just never happened. They were reserved, and they were resigned to the fact that this was going to be a 40-point ass whooping. I mean, yikes. The Cowboys haven't beaten someone this bad since like 2000. I mean, what in the hell is going on out there? Seriously. This was embarrassing. But also, This also goes back to something we talked about earlier in the season. The Cowboys are for real. Like, they can win the Super Bowl. We talk about all these teams that have a chance. The Cowboys have a chance. And Cowboys fans that keep bringing up shit like, the last time the Atlanta Braves won the World Series, guess who won the Super Bowl? And I'm like, I don't know who. I know the answer. I don't know who. The Dallas Cowboys! I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. They could actually win the shit. And they would be so insufferable if they do. They're good enough to do it, though. They really are. And this is another example of why. They have a down game and they bounce back with a thorough, and this is what championship caliber teams do. I told you, every now and again, you're just going to have one of those games where you can't get right. The Bills had it against the Jags. You know what they came back and did this week? They spanked a bad Jets football team. That's what championship caliber teams do. You know what the Cowboys did? They spanked a bad Atlanta Falcons football team. And the Falcons aren't even terrible. They're just not good. They spanked them. And they took it to them early and let them know, you're not going to make this interesting or competitive. And the Falcons said, you're right. What a game by the Cowboys. Even their special teams got involved. They blocked a kick here, scooped it up, ran for a touchdown. Even the punting, the special teams unit got involved. I mean, I don't even know if they scored a touchdown on the block, but they blocked a kick in this game. So this was a thorough ass whooping, like a full cavity search. They got into their anal cavity and pulled out some of their organs. This was that bad. 43-3 was the final score in this one. Dallas dominated. CeeDee Lamb had himself a field day, couple of touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott got in the end zone a couple of times. Dak Prescott bounced back from a rough outing. He was exceptional in this game, and the Cowboys defense was exceptional. Trayvon Diggs back up to his old tricks, his 8th interception in this one. It was just a bad day at the office for the Falcons and a great one for the Cowboys, who are now 7-2 and just a half game out of first place in the NFC Conference, behind the 8-2 Arizona Cardinals and the 8-2 Green Bay Packers. Saints Titans, one of the more compelling games of week number 10. It was one of the few matchups between two teams above 500. You don't get a lot of those in the league anymore, but this was one of them in week 10. Titans riding a massive 3-game win streak, or I might be at like 4 now 5 after this one. I can't remember what their record was. Let's just see for real quick when they lost to the Jets, because they haven't lost since. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Riding a 5-game win streak coming into this game. Now 6 after their 23-21 victory over the Saints. It didn't come without some controversy. There was a roughing the passer penalty that was just egregious. Even the in-house ex-official said that's a terrible call. It cost the Saints not only an opportunity to force a field goal, but it cost them 4 points, because the Titans were going to have to settle for a field goal. They lose this game by 2. You can do the math. The Titans ultimately get the roughing the passer penalty and then convert it into a touchdown, and that's a 4-point swing there. And they lose the game by 2. And Sean Payton was pissed after the game. They tried to get something out of him. He was like, "What do you want me to say?" They didn't give me an explanation. Okay, they didn't tell me why they called it. There was no helmet-to-helmet contact. There wasn't any blow to the head of the quarterback. It was a bad call. It was a bad call made by the official, and it ultimately helped decide the outcome of this game. That said, the Titans continue to be resilient. They're going to have to reinvent themselves without Derrick Henry, and this week it was a different guy stepping up. I mean, every week it's going to have to be someone new. This week it was Marcus Johnson who stepped up, 5 catches, 100 yards for the Titans. Every time I looked up, he was catching something, going across the field, and then running by some dudes. So he was huge in this football game. Tannehill, again, he's not a world beater, but he does enough for this Titans football team. 19 of 27, 213 yards, and a touchdown. The run game is really not the catalyst right now for the Titans. They're going to have to reinvent themselves, and Tannehill's going to have to step up to the forefront. And he did enough in this game against a really quality Saints defense. For the Saints, that's 2 straight losses after the big win over the Buccaneers. And the biggest issue with them right now is defensively, they're good enough. Offensively, it's Trevor Siemian. He wasn't terrible in this game, but he missed some throws like he did last week against the Atlanta Falcons. And, you know, that's the difference sometimes in you keeping a drive alive and ultimately getting in the field goal range or ultimately getting into the end zone and having to punt or having to settle for a field goal. He wasn't terrible, as I mentioned. And Mark Ingram has been a welcome addition to this team. He's been phenomenal for them. But right now, I felt like Odell Beckham Jr. would have been a great addition to the Saints because they didn't have any money. They didn't have the capital to do it. But they're missing a true difference maker at receiver. They don't really have that. You know, every week it's another guy that's, you know, stepping up and trying to be that guy, but they don't actually have a guy that you can rely on. And, you know, it's going to be tough because Peyton is going to be tested. He's going to have to manufacture offense, you know, and I think he's going to have to make Taysom Hill a bigger part of the offense. He's been, since coming back from his injury, he's been a very minimal part of their offense. I think he's going to have to be a bigger part of their offense. He's going to have to run it a little bit more, some gadget plays with him where he actually throws it. They're going to have to integrate him a little bit more because Trevor Siemian isn't capable of carrying this team on his shoulders. He's going to need a lot more help. And Sean Payton's going to have to deliver that. But this was a really big win by the Titans. And it wasn't easy. Yeah, the Saints put pressure on them, but that roughing the passer penalty was huge. It really swung this game because at the time of that penalty, let's see, the score was 13-6. And if they settle for a field goal there, it's 16-6. The Saints would score a touchdown on the next possession of the game, and that would have made it 13-6 or 16-13. It changes the whole complexion of the game instead of being down, you know, 20-12, and they would miss the extra point. So it changes everything. So big play in the game, but the Titans continue to remain resilient. Right now, if you ask me who's the best team in the NFL, I'd tell you it's the Tennessee Titans, but I don't even believe that myself. But that's what I would tell you right now. They're 8-2. They've had the toughest schedule in the NFL to this point. They've beat the who's who list of teams. Like, you name that team, they've beat them already this season, except for Arizona in week 1 when they got trashed at home. Other than the Cardinals, they've beat just about every good team in the league that you could think of. You know, that's been on their schedule, and they've had the toughest schedule to date, and they've navigated it beautifully to this point, winning 8 of 10 games thus far, and being the leaders in the clubhouse in the AFC conference as the number 1 seed. If the playoffs begun today, the Tennessee Titans would be your number 1 seed, have a first round bye, and the playoffs in the AFC would go through Nashville as the Titans get it done again, 23-21. Saints fall to 5-4 after getting to 5-2 after the improbable win over the Buccaneers. They're now 5-4 in the season and looking to snap a 2-game losing streak. Colts, Jags, AFC South family business. You know how the family do it. Colts are victorious 23-17. This was not easy. As the score indicates, this game was a lot closer than we thought it was going to be. Remember, the Colts jumped out to a 17-0 lead in this game. They blocked a punt on the opening possession for the Jaguars. They scooped that up, ran it for a touchdown. It was 10-0. Then they scored another touchdown. They made it 17-0. They looked like they were going to run away and hide and really bust this Jaguars team up. And after the Jags' momentous win last week, you thought they would come out inspired and see if they could do it again. And after watching what the Dolphins did, they figured, wait, why not us again? And they just chipped away. They scored a touchdown. They missed the extra point, so it was 17-6. Then they got a field goal. Then it was 17-9. And then the Colts got a field goal. It was 20-9. And then the Jaguars scored a touchdown, and they made it. And they went for 2, and they got it. And it was 17-20, and then the Colts got it, and they put together a lengthy drive and ate up clock and got a field goal and made it 23. And so the stage was set. Jags have the football with a chance to drive down the field and win this game. And Trevor Lawrence is getting on his horse and he's giddy up and he's taking them down the field. And they've got 2 timeouts and they're moving the football and they get to midfield and Trevor Lawrence takes off to run and he gets stripped. And they lose the football game. Colts recover. They win this game 23-17. This Jaguars team is starting to believe. And, it's rare that a tight end coming over via trade early in the season makes a difference. But Dan Arnold is making a massive difference for the Jacksonville Jaguars. When they made the trade, I was like, really? You're giving away a first-round corner for Dan Arnold? Really? Now I know why. He's making a massive difference on that offense. That's becoming him and Marvin Jones Jr., who I absolutely love as a receiver. Those are his 2 security blankets. When all else fails, those are the 2 guys he's looking for, and those are the only 2 that he can rely on to deliver time after time after time after time. Everybody else is dropping the ball, or they're not maximizing a run after the catch. Those 2 guys get it done, and Arnold's been huge for them. And this Jaguars team, they're not the same team that, started out this season, 0-5 or whatever. This is a different team. They believe now. And, we were talking about Herb may not make it through the season. Herb is fine. The losses are still killing him, but Herb is fine. I think he's starting to get his traction and footing in the league. Again, I don't know his health, how it's going to hold up, but he no longer looks like he's about to have a heart attack on the sidelines. He actually looks like he's enjoying himself and that he actually understands that this isn't college and, this is how things are done here. He actually looks like he's starting to acclimate himself. But the Colts, after starting the season off 1-4 and 0-3, they're now back to 500 at 5-5. Look out for the Indianapolis Colts. Shit's about to get real. Schedule's about to ratchet up. But they finally fought, scratched, clawed their way back to 500, and they could be a dangerous team. And once again, their running back, Jonathan Taylor, over 100 yards. He was over 100 yards in the first half of this game, was Jonathan Taylor. He's becoming a true weapon and now leads the NFL in rushing, with Derrick Henry being out. Carson Wentz, another solid performance. And Michael Pittman Jr. continues to be a third down menace, leads the league in third down yardage. He did it again in this game. Huge catch on the drive that got the the Colts their field goal to push the lead out to 6 and force Jacksonville to need a touchdown. One of the biggest surprises of the day from a scoreboard standpoint, not from a win-loss standpoint, but just from, not shocked that you won, shocked by the amount you won by. That would be the New England Patriots over the Cleveland Browns. And now you got people talking about, look out for the Patriots. They could win the whole thing this year. And I'm like, yeah, no, they're not going to do that. But that's how crazy it is this year. And that's how wide open this thing is, that the 6-4 Patriots all of a sudden look like they've gotten it on track, and that they figured out what they have to do on a weekly basis to win. And now they're destroying teams. Remember, they scored 54 on the Jets just a couple of weeks ago. Now they're putting up 45 here on the Browns. And this isn't the Jets. This isn't the Little Sisters of the Poor. This isn't the Detroit Lions or the Jacksonville Jaguars that they put up 45 on. This is a 5-5 now Cleveland Browns team that got a mud hole stomped in them, 45-7. Now the Patriots are 6-4. They've got a ton of confidence. And the Buffalo Bills, by losing to Jacksonville, what they've effectively done is they've left the door ajar. And now the Patriots are like, earlier, we keep on knocking, but we can't come in. We keep on knocking, but we can't come in. But now the door is open. They're like, I don't know what's in here, but I damn sure want to find out. Now they're trying to go in. And this thing is going to get really interesting soon, because they've got 2 games against the Bills in a 4-week span in about 2 weeks. That's going to go a long way to determining that division. But Mac Jones, who? Mac Jones, the miggity Mac, bow, the miggity Mac, bow. He was out there balling, 19 of 23 for 198 yards, 3 touchdowns, One of them was a beautiful touchdown pass to Kendrick Bourne, who went top shelf and went and got it. One of those underrated signings by the Patriots that you looked in the offseason and said, Kendrick Bourne? Like, what are they doing? I'm like, yo, Kendrick Bourne on the low when he's not dropping it. Because he'll drop it every now. He hasn't dropped shit in New England. But every now and again, Kendrick Bourne will drop the football. He did in San Francisco at least. He's catching everything for the 49ers. He can play some ball when he's locked in. And he's making plays for this Patriots football team. And they're figuring some things out. I like Ramondre Stevenson. I saw a lot of him in the preseason, and I said, this kid's going to ultimately start for the Patriots. Watch. And now with the injuries to Damian Harris and some of the other backs, Ramondre Stevenson is getting his opportunity. 20 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm telling you, even when Damian Harris gets back, he's going to be sharing some time with Ramondre Stevenson because this young fella from Oklahoma, the rookie 3rd or 4th round pick, he's making an impact on this Patriots offense. And this defense, I told you, I said, watch. Belichick's got all the tools he needs. He went out and got a bunch of guys in the offseason, and I said, he's going to turn this defense around. And one of the pieces he got from Baltimore was Matt Judon. I said, they've never had a piece like that they could move around, that could get pressure on the quarterback, all of that good jazz. They've had a bunch of no-name guys, Tully Banta-Kane, and all of those guys throughout the years, Rob Ninkovich, like that found ways to get 9.5 sacks. But Matthew Judon is different, okay? He's moving everywhere. He's making plays all over the football field. And then there were little signings that they made, and I said, man, this team is going to be dangerous. They signed the corner/safety from the Eagles, and I said, man, that's a sneaky good signing because not only can he play ball, but he can do multiple things. This Patriots team, man, they're dangerous, and here they come. They're on their horse all of a sudden, and now they're putting up big points. 45 is a big, nasty, crooked number. As for the Browns, I told you, I'm not buying what they're selling this year, and they've been banged up, and no Nick Chubb, no Kareem Hunt for them spells doom, because I told you, they've got to be able to run the football effectively to win games. And it's not like Dearness Johnson didn't do that, 19 carries on 99 yards, but they need that run game to be prolific in order to do the things that they want to do. And Baker Mayfield went down with an injury. It's initially it was feared to be something that would keep him out for an extended period of time, but those fears have since been quelled. It seems like a very minor injury, one that he'll be able to play through. He's all kinds of banged up. Remember, he was dealing with the shoulder. He still is. Now he's dealing with a lower extremity injury. Either way, this Browns team, I think, is in trouble. And we'll see if they're able to bounce back, get up off the canvas. And once they get some of these guys back healthy, they may be able to turn it around. But right now, that's another ugly loss for the Browns. 2 now in 3 weeks for this Browns football team, as the Patriots are now 6-4 with the destruction of the Cleveland Browns, 45-7. Speaking of destruction, Buffalo Bills bounce back from that ugly 9-6 defeat at the hands of Jacksonville, one of the biggest surprises of the 2021 NFL season. They bounce back in a major way. 45-17 is the final here. They started slow in this game. They let the Jets hang around for a little while, and then they realized, what are we doing? We're playing with our food. What are we doing? All right, let's stop, get off of our phone. All right, let's focus on our plate and let's clean it up. Okay, let's go ahead and put this food down so we can get to dessert. Okay, we're playing around right now with the mashed potatoes, and we're just allowing too much time to pass. Our steak is getting a little cold and it's getting tougher to cut. Let's just eat all of this stuff so we can get to the dessert. And by the time we got to the mid stages of the third quarter, they were ready for dessert. They started to put the pressure on the Jets. And by the time we got to the end of the third quarter, it was 38-3. So, it was 17-3 at half. And I'm like, this is still a little too close for comfort. And they said, don't worry, we got it. we got this. And then they turned it up. And by the midpoint of the third quarter, it was 31-3. And by the end of the third quarter, it was 38. And I said, okay, this thing's over. And you know what else is over? The whole Mike White. Oh, what are the Jets going to do? Mike White is healthy. They should play him. And what's going to happen when Zach Wilson? Okay, let's put that to bed. And I told you that it was a cute story and it was interesting. And I wanted to see if Mike White could follow up that performance. But there's a reason the Cowboys drafted him and then moved on from him. There's a reason that this man's been in the league for 3-4 years and hasn't really gotten an opportunity. There's a reason. Okay, there's a reason for all of this. And he's showing it. Okay. He every now and again, he can have one of those games, but he was awful in this football game. 24 of 44 for 251 and 4 interceptions from Mike White. So let's just go ahead and put that away. Okay, that was fun while it lasted. Let's go ahead and put that away. Let's pull Zach Wilson back out and let's move on with the Zach Wilson project, okay? Let's go ahead and move forward with that because he's the future, not Mike White. So we can put that to rest now. He was awful in this game. And the Jets are awful. And, the biggest storyline there is Robert Saleh getting into a verbal spat with Rex Ryan and Saleh's brother jumping in and saying, hey, you stick to podiatry and cheeseburgers, okay? Which I thought was really funny. The podiatry, remember, he had the foot fetish thing, and then cheeseburgers, he's a fat guy. Okay, get it. So, anyway, Robert Saleh said, hey, look, you know where to find me. I'm not going to get into all of this shit with you. Obviously, you got a problem with me. You know where to find me, bruh. I'm not ducking. I'm not dodging. I'm not hiding. You know where to find me. Ooh. Okay. Getting a little chesty there. I like it. Spicy. Rex got to stop, though. Rex has been salty since he got fired. He got to stop that shit. Anyway, Bills do what the Bills are supposed to do, which is beat up on inferior teams. Stephon Diggs, finally, we haven't seen Stephon Diggs, receiving champ from a season ago. I haven't really seen him this year. 8 catches, 162 yards, touchdown in this game. He was outstanding. Josh Allen back to his old tricks, 21 of 28, 366, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The Bills get back to business, 45-17. But because of the slip up last week, they're now 6-3. And only a half game ahead of the Buffalo Bills in the loss column. Steelers-Lions, our first tie of the year. May not be our final tie, but trust me, 16-16 was the final score here. Neither one of these teams wanted to win this game. I'm telling you right now, they could have given these two teams 3 more quarters to decide a winner. We would not have gotten a winner. Both of these teams, it was a comedy of errors. Like this, first of all, the Steelers stink. I know Roethlisberger didn't play. Even if he had played, I think they would have been in a similar position. They probably would have won the game though. But they wouldn't have scored, 30 points if Roethlisberger plays in this game. They would have scored like 19 and won 19-16, or they would have scored like 23. Okay, their offense stinks. Let's just set the record straight. Their offense is abysmal. Now, it was a miserable weather day, but it was a miserable performance on the field by both teams. Okay? I mean, it was a joke. So, overtime begins, right? And the Lions get it, and they get a big play to start overtime, and they're heading towards a field goal. And then they do some Lions shit. They get a penalty, a sack, all of that good stuff that the Lions do. And then they ultimately have to punt the ball. So then the Steelers get it. And their buffoonery was on full display. And so they give it back to, first of all, they should have thrown a pick. Okay. Like the safety for the Lions is on the ground. The ball comes right to him. And he's juggling it. I mean, the Lions are so Lions, man. I mean, golly, when you're bad, you're really bad. And so he's juggling it around and he can't keep it and he's on the ground and the ball hits the ground. Like, you gotta be shitting me. You don't want to win. So then they give it back to the Lions. So then the Lions are moving it again and they get in the field goal range. And you're like, whoa, okay, this is pretty cool. All right, they may win this game. Let's go back a bit. So finally, Mason Rudolph almost throws an interception. He hits Deontay Johnson down the sideline. He cuts inside. He breaks a tackle. He's getting in the field goal range. And the guy that he made miss that gave up the catch comes back and punches that bitch out. Peanut punch style. Pow! Guess who stepped in the room? Cal. And now the ball's on the ground and the Lions have it. Guess the Steelers don't want to win the game. So then the Lions are like, okay, you know what? Enough of this. Let's go get our first win. And they move it down the field. And they get in the field goal range. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to do it. And then their kicker, I've never seen this guy before. And I never trust kickers I've never seen before. And I don't know if this Santoso guy is the same guy that I saw earlier stinking it up for another team. I think it was Carolina that he kicked for, and they was like, okay, this guy is trash. And they got rid of him after one game. And I don't know why the Lions, and this is why I told Washington, be careful. The Lions said, look, we need a kicker. This Santoso kid, how was he in Carolina? Oh, he was awful. Good, sign him. And so he comes out and he kicks one of the worst kicks I've ever seen. And I've seen some bad kicks this year. I think it hit the helmet. It was so low. I think it hit the helmet of one of his teammates that was blocking. Either way, it was only a 40 some odd yard kick and he missed. And it was short. Anyway, I said, well, that's some Lion shit right there. Yep. So then I'm going to say, Pittsburgh, this is the opportunity you need. About a minute and something left. And they got the football. And I'm like, all right, go make something happen. And so they throw it to Pat Fryermuth. And then he drops it. Then they throw it to him again and he catches it. And I'm like, okay, all right, let's see if you can get something going. And they get another completion and they get out of bounds. And then Deontay Johnson catches one and he gets up the field and gets out of bounds. And now they're getting on that fringe of field goal range where you get one more solid completion, maybe 6-7 yards, you get out of bounds because you don't have any more timeouts. And maybe, just maybe, you could trot your kick out there. I mean, what's it gonna hurt, right? Even if it's 58 yards, it's kind of snowing. It's rain, snow. It's kind of like a sleet, nasty kind of downfall. And so even if it's that, and he misses, yeah, it could get returned for a touchdown, but more likely it's the Lions. It's not going to go for a touchdown. Anyway, just as they're about to get out of bounds, they throw it to Pat Fryermuth. He's trying to get out of bounds. He fumbles the football. And the Lions' Trey Flowers recovers right by the sidelines. And that was pretty much it. It was like 6 seconds left. The Lions throw a one pass, and they end up running out of bounds, which is so Lions, right? They start to lateral, and the guy just runs out of bounds. Like, hey! It's like, okay, that was stupid. And that's it. It's 16-16. I'm like, nobody wanted to win this game. If they would have given them another whole quarter, it would have still been 16-16. Both of those teams were tragically bad in this game. It was a comedy of errors. It was a farce, and no one deserved to win the game. It needed to end in a tie. So effectively, Detroit's losing streak ends at 13 games, 8 this year, 5 to end last season. And the Steelers' win streak, I think it was up to 4 games. Is over now with this tie. And rightfully so. Nobody deserved to come out of this a winner. All right, next game, Buccaneers at Washington. Probably the biggest surprise of Week 10 here in the nation's capital, Orlando, Maryland. With Washington coming out on top, 29-19 over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm a Washington fan, and I didn't see this coming. I didn't think in a million years that we'd pull off the upset. But honestly, we deserved to win this game. We were the better team. Now, if we played the Buccaneers 10 times, this might be the only one that we win. Okay, let's make this abundantly clear. They're the far superior team, but in this particular game, they were not. They came out flat. They disrespected Washington from the opening kickoff. They won the toss, and they chose to receive, which let me know, oh, you think we some bitches. Okay, that's what you said. Oh, they some bitches, and they give it up on the opening possession every week, which we do. They're not wrong for thinking this, but it's a sign of disrespect. And the players, I took it as disrespect. I was pissed off. Oh, I thought we won the toss. And then I heard the announcer say, Buccaneers won the toss and elected to receive. I said, excuse me? You did what? Oh, it's like that. Oh, is it? Man, if we don't beat they mother effing ass. So we did. Forced the 3 and out. On their second possession, got an interception. On their third possession, got another interception. On their third possession or fourth possession, almost got another interception. We were on Brady's ass. He was uncomfortable. He made mistakes. He was not sharp. And we were up 16-6. Should have been 16-3 at halftime. We dominated the first half. We let them hang around in the second half. because that's what bad teams do. They don't know how to put teams away. But the thing that this team did where they haven't done this all season long, and the reason they won this game, is because every time there was a bit of adversity, meaning the Buccaneers just scored. For instance, score 16-6 coming out of halftime. Washington goes 3 and out, punts the football. Buccaneers take it and they move it down the field. They score a touchdown. It's 16-13. You need to respond, not now, right now. Because if you don't, the Buccaneers are going to take advantage of the situation, seize control of this game, wrestle away Uncle Mo, and he's not coming back to your sidelines. And they're going to run away and hide, and you're going to forget that this game was even 16-6 at halftime. They're going to win this thing 37-23. Instead, and that's what we would have done in the past. That's what we did against Kansas City. We were up 13-10 against the Chiefs at halftime, missed a field goal. They scored a touchdown. I said, we need to respond right now. They scored a touchdown. They were up 17-13. What we did was we went 3 and out, gave it right back to them, and they scored another touchdown. And then I said, all right, well, if you don't get something on this next possession, it's already 2 scores as is, up 11, 24-13. You don't get something on this possession, it's over. We gave it right back to them again. This time in interception form, they scored another touchdown. It was 31-13, and you forgot that it was even 13-10 at halftime. We were in danger of that happening again. But you know what we said this time? No, this is a different game. We're coming off the bye week. It's a different team. Chase Young gone for the season. All right, we need to win this one for Chase. And so what we did was we responded to the touchdown with a touchdown of our own. So we pushed the lead back out to 2 scores at 10 points at 23-13. And we had them stuck at 13. Then one of our young pups fumbled the football. And that's what young puppies do, okay? Because they don't know any better. They're just out there running around having fun. They don't know anything about ball security. And he puts it on the ground and they recover. And Brady took advantage, as Brady does. And that's what opportunistic championship caliber teams do. They take advantage of your mistakes. They scored a touchdown. They cut it back to 3 at 4. They missed the extra point, 23-19. And then one of the most beautiful things these eyes have ever seen transpired. Washington then got the football, and I'm expecting them to do something stupid or give it away or punt, okay, and give it back. And Brady had been downtrodden all game. He had been sitting on the sidelines with a grumpy face, with his ball cap on, looking at the tablet, looking like he just lost his best friend the whole game. After that touchdown to Mike Evans, a 40-yard strike, he goes over to the sidelines and immediately begins throwing the football. He doesn't want to sit down now. He's warming up because he thinks they're going to come back and win this game. So he don't want to sit down now. So he's playing toss with Blaine Gabbert, right? They're throwing the football back and forth. Washington gets the football and proceeds to go. They got the football back with about 11 minutes and let's call it 11 minutes flat left in the game. 11 minutes. They proceeded to go on a 19-play, 80-yard, 10-minute and 26-second drive, capped off by a 4th and goal, 1-yard touchdown run by Antonio Gibson to put the game on ice, 29-19. We had 5 third down conversions, and the 1 third down conversion we didn't have, we went for it on 4th down and got it. We were 5 of 5 on third downs when the possession bled the entire 4th quarter clock and won the football game. That felt good. It felt like something that an NFC East defending champion should do. And maybe, just maybe, it sparks something within this team that they can use the remainder of the season to get back, not only in the back into the wild card chase, but maybe even back into the divisional race. We'll see. The Cowboys are way out in front right now, but big win for Washington. Tampa came out flat. They thought Washington was going to lay down and allow them to come out victorious. They were wrong, and they paid for it. The Buccaneers have now lost 2 in a row to the quarterbacks, the likes of Trevor Siemian and Taylor Heineke. Not very good. And after the game, their head coach, Bruce Arians, said, this wasn't on the receivers in Tom Brady. It was just on Tom Brady. Ouch. Anyway, I digress. Panthers, Cardinals. This was a one-sided beatdown, 34-10. Cam Newton made an appearance. He made a guest appearance in this game. You know, everybody came, the narrative is Cam's back. His ass made a guest cameo appearance on the show. All right. You know how you get a celebrity in there back in the day and they got the laugh track? Woo! Yeah, everybody's clapping and the celebrity can't even get a word in because everybody's clapping and they're making all kinds of noise. And the celebrity has to wait until all the noise subsides so they can say their one little line. That's how Cam Newton was in this game. Man came in the red zone, ran it the first time. The second time he came in the game, he threw it for a touchdown. And that was pretty much it. He made a cameo. Yeah, he had a couple of plays in the middle of the field, but he pretty much just showed up, scored a couple touchdowns, and that was it. The Cardinals were dominated in this game defensively, though. That's the story, is that this Panthers defense jumped all over Colt McCoy, beat him up, injured him, forced him to turn it over. They forced him to fumble on the first possession. They picked him off on the second possession. They did whatever the hell they wanted to do to Colt McCoy. They had no answer. Their offense that was dominated a week ago against San Francisco and ran it down their throats. And James Conner had a career day 3 touchdowns. He was non-existent. Colt McCoy looked like Colt McCoy. All right. Not Goat McCoy we saw last week that only had 3 incompletions. He looked like Colt McCoy, the guy that we've come to know and love that stinks. And they beat him up good and destroyed him and devoured him as a Panther should. A Cardinal, right? Catch the bird sleeping, grab him with your sharp teeth, sink those teeth into his larynx, crush it, and gobble him up. And that's what they did. 34-10. 2 straight wins for the Panthers now after they had 5 straight losses. That's 2 straight wins for them. They feel confident, and Cam Newton reportedly will start for them in his first game as the starter against Washington. Go figure. And Ron Rivera, who's making his return to Carolina. Should be a ton of storylines this week. As for the Arizona Cardinals, no Kyler Murray, no DeAndre Hopkins. For some of the games this season, no problem, but that wasn't one of the games. This wasn't one of the games. They got dominated, and they lose this one and get blown out. But I'm not going to make too much of it because they didn't have their best guys out there, but you still don't want to get embarrassed like this, and they did. Vikings, Chargers. I kind of told you guys that this could happen. Vikings get the win 27-20. I haven't been right about much this season, so when I am right, I'm going to make sure you know because I haven't gotten many right this year. But I told you the Vikings, I've said this to you before, the Vikings are capable of beating anybody. They're capable of losing to anyone. And I said the Chargers, they're not ready yet. And I said games like this are going to be the evidence that they're not ready. And here it is, voila, golden opportunity to win. And Justin Herbert was not sharp in this game. I thought that they left a lot of opportunities on the field. And the Vikings, they made enough plays. It wasn't the cleanest game by the Minnesota Vikings, okay? They made their fair share of mistakes. But, again, Kirk Cousins continuing to have a strong season. When they don't win, he gets a lot of the blame, and sometimes it's rightfully so. But, I think it's 18 touchdowns now, only 2 interceptions on the season. He's been spectacular this year. And I've said this, in certain instances, he isn't the guy that you want to put everything on his shoulders because that's not who he is. But there are certain times where if you put enough around him and he's in a rhythm, he can do it. And this was one of those games. He made some big plays. They went for it on 4th down. And he makes a great decision and a great throw back of the end zone to one of their tight ends for the touchdown. They go for it on 4th down late in the game. And I told you, one of the problems with this Chargers football team, and reason I can't believe in them, is they can't stop the run. Dalvin Cook, 24 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown. But that doesn't tell the story because that's not a terrible day defensively stopping the run. It's not a great day either, but it's not a terrible day. The problem is games on the line, and the Vikings had confidence enough to say, you know what? It's 4th and 2. They could have kicked a field goal, but they said, we don't trust our field goal kicker, and they shouldn't trust their field goal kicker. They've missed enough field goals in critical situations this year to say, you know what? Let's win this on offense. And it's 4th and 2, and they run a toss. They didn't hand it off. They didn't go play action. They ran a toss to Dalvin Cook, and he gets 4 yards, 5 yards in the first down. That's the problem with the Chargers, is the game's on the line. You know that I know that you know that I know that you know that I'm going to run it, and you still can't stop it because you don't have the horses up front to stop a team that's telling you they're about to run it to win the game and run out the clock. And that's where the Chargers are right now. is that they can't stop the run. The Eagles ran it down their throats last year. The only problem last week was that the Chargers had it last. That's why they won. If the Eagles would have had it last, they would have won the game last week. The Chargers cannot stop the run. And that, my friends, is a problem in this league. Even though, points come through the passing game, you can't stop the run, you're going to lose games. Period. End of discussion. Especially when it starts to get a lot colder outside and we're getting to that point of the season. And they continue to struggle. Kirk Cousins, 25 of 37, 294, 2 touchdowns. Justin Herbert, 20 of 34, 195, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Again, not a great game from him. In any event, big win for the Vikings. After 2 straight losses, they needed this one. Now they're back in the win column, and they're 4-5. Meanwhile, the Chargers are 5-4 and failed to take advantage of an opportunity to stay atop the AFC West division. Eagles Broncos, this game was comical. The Eagles are all of a sudden now a rush team. Who knew? All of a sudden now it's like their coach Nick Sirianni just woke up one day and said, you know what, we should run the football. I think we're a better team when we run the football and kind of, take Jalen Hurts out of the mix a little bit. You think? So they've been running it all of a sudden. And it's been working. They ran it last week against the Chargers. They ran it this week again. They ran it against Detroit 2 weeks prior. And now they've won 2 out of 3. And they're 4-6. And they're making a push towards trying to chase a wild card. And don't give up on the division either. And the Broncos should be ashamed of themselves. They had opportunities in this game. They lose this one 30-13. The Eagles run away with this one late. And there's a sequence in here that really changed this game. So the Broncos had a chance. They had a touchdown. They scored a touchdown. Javonte Williams gets to the outside, gets in the end zone. It's a touchdown. It gets called back. And after that, they got to settle for a field goal. It gets called back for a holding penalty. Brutal. They ended up having to settle for a field goal. Teddy Bridgewater does the Teddy Bridgewater thing on 3rd and 8. He throws a 4-yard pass and they get stopped. They got to settle for a field goal. So instead of it being 20-17 at that point, it's 20-13, right? They get a stop finally because the Eagles have been moving the football effectively on them. They get a stop. Matter of fact, they get an interception. They pick off Jalen Hurts. And Hurts hadn't turned it over in like 3 or 4 weeks. And he picks off Jalen Hurts. Does Justin Simmons. They're all world safety. They're in business. They're moving the football. They get to a 4th and 1 because Teddy Bridgewater does the Teddy Bridgewater thing on 3rd and 6. He throws a 3-yard pass and they get stopped short of the first down by 1 yard. So they go for it on 4th and 1. And I don't know why they continue to go to Melvin Gordon in these situations. Because while he's dynamic, and he is talented, he also fumbles the football. He did it when he was with the Chargers. He's doing it with the Broncos. He had already fumbled, not in this game, but he fumbled last week or 2 weeks ago against Washington. In a critical situation, they're trying to salt away the game, and he lets Chase Young punch the ball out. You can't trust this guy in critical situations. And Javonte Williams has been breaking tackles and running physically all season long. Just give it to the young fella. Nope. They stick with the veteran. He gets in the pile, and the ball squirts out. And Darius Slay somehow comes though. He looks down. Oh, shit. He's a bystander. He doesn't want any smoke. He didn't want to get in the mix. He's a corner. They don't want to tackle anybody. So he's just standing around the pile. Oh, look at what I found. It's the football. So he picks it up and he's jumbling and fumbling it around and running backwards. And he finally gets the ball after bumbling it for 10 seconds. And then he starts running up the field. And all of a sudden, he's picking up steam and a bunch of offensive linemen on the field. All the fast guys are off the field because they went to the heavy jumbo package. So nobody's really there to catch him. And Teddy Bridgewater has the angle and can make a tackle. And Teddy Bridgewater makes one of the most casual business decisions you've ever seen in your life, to the point where if I'm a teammate, I might have to slap the shit out of Teddy. There's an opportunity there where if I'm one of these teammates that it's one taco short of a combination plate, you got to hold me back because I might slap the gum out of Teddy's mouth. Teddy makes it a bit, and you know what makes it worse is not only does Teddy not make a tackle attempt, get your ass out the mother effing way then. He's setting a natural pick because he's standing in the way of other guys that's actually trying to catch him. Get your ass out the way. The hell is wrong with you? After the game, his coach says, yeah, I would like to see Teddy make an attempt there. You think? I would bench his ass after that. Like, you can't be on my team after that. You can't be my starting quarterback after that. I would feel some type of way. He runs it for a touchdown. The Eagles win the game 30. It was a 14-point swing because he had the first down. Then you fumble it. And who knows? They only might have gotten a field goal. All they needed was a field goal to tie the game. Or they needed a touchdown, excuse me. It was 20-13. But who knows? They kick a field goal, and then they get another stop, and they score a touchdown, and they win it 23-3. You don't know. It's either a 10-point swing at a minimum. They were already in field goal range. Or it's a 14-point swing if they would have had a chance to score a touchdown. Either way. It's a massive play in the game. That swung it in the balance of the scales in the favor of the Eagles, and they win this game going away 30-13. 2 out of 3 now for the Eagles. They're 4-6. Denver's 5-5. I pronounce their season dead after that. And I don't want to see them win any more games after that performance. You do stupid shit like that and your quarterback quits on a play. No, I can't get with that at all. And then for the second week in a row, the Green Bay Packers have been a part of America's Game of the Week. And for the second week in a row, it was trifling, nasty, and disgusting to watch. 17-0 is the final score here. Green Bay wins the game, get to 8-2 on the season. The Seahawks are shut out for the very first time in the Russell Wilson era. I don't really know what to say about this game. Russell Wilson looked awful, but it was his first game back. But he had 2 interceptions in this game. One, he threw up. It was like a punt. Like, what are you doing? I mean, seriously. Their offensive coordinator is the worst. Shane Waldron, again, you got rid of the old, stable, reliable coordinator. You bring in Shane Waldron, and this guy doesn't understand the concept of getting the football to your best players. DK Metcalf lost his mind at the end of the game, wanted to fight the entire Packers defense, got injected out of the game. And this is what happens when you're not getting the football. You got a lot of energy to waste, right? Back in the day, they used to say, if you ain't getting none, you got a lot of extra energy. That's the dude that's always hitting you up. He wants to go shoot some ball. He wants to go here. He wants to go there. You're like, bro, you ain't got somebody you could be kind of up under right now doing something? You're like, bro, I'm with my girl. Like, why are you hitting me up trying to go play some ball right now? Because he ain't got nothing to do. He got a lot of energy. DK Metcalf at the end of this game had a lot of energy. Why? He ain't caught no balls. He ain't done nothing. So he got all this energy, and he's like, look, I need to release some of this. So now he wants to hit everybody in their face. The official is holding him back, and he's still punching dudes in their face. Like, bro, you trying to get ejected. And then had the audacity to try to come back in the game after he got ejected. Oh, I didn't know I got ejected. You think you were going to get ejected? When all the tomfoolery you were participating in front of the officials, you didn't think you were getting ejected? Tyler Lockett, 3 targets in the game. I mean, this is a joke. Let me make sure about this. If I'm not mistaken, Lockett had 3 targets, and I think DK Metcalf had like 3 or 4 targets. Let me check real quick. Metcalf 8, Lockett 8, excuse me. Lockett had 2 catches. DK Metcalf had 3 catches. 3 for 26 for Metcalf, 2 for 23 for Lockett. That's a joke, because if my guys aren't getting open, or they're not winning, or Russ isn't getting, I'm going to find ways. I'm going to manufacture ways, whether it's a bubble screen, whether it's a slot screen, whether it's a jet sweep, whether it's a slant, whether it's a pick play. I'm going to get my guys the football, period. I got 2 dogs out there in Lockett and Metcalf. I'm feeding those boys. They are pit bulls. They getting fed good. They didn't allow them to eat at all. And you got to give some credit to the Packers defense. They were really good, and this was a nasty weather game. But at the end of the day, this has been going on for far too long with this offense this season. There's a problem, a fundamental problem with their offense, and it starts with their offensive coordinator. But to the Packers, though, I told you, I don't love their offense, man. they've got issues offensively, and Packers fans keep telling me, hey, just wait till we get healthy. And I'm like, it's not your defense, dude. All of the people you keep telling me to wait for, they're on defense. Your defense is fine. That's not the problem. Your offense is the problem. That's why I don't believe in you. And again, 17 points. This game was 3-0 in the fourth quarter. 3-0 in the fourth quarter. This game was unbelievable. I'm watching this game and I can't believe what I'm watching. I mean, it's 3-0 and it's Aaron Rodgers versus Russell Wilson and it's 3-0. Both teams thrown intercept. I think Rodgers threw an interception in the red zone too. I think he threw one to Jamal Adams. Both teams threw interceptions in the red zone. Inexplicable interceptions in the red zone, I may add. This game was hard to watch. And this was one of the better teams in Green Bay, in NFC. We've played them before. As a Washington football team fan, we could have beaten them. This is why I say, just get in the tournament. You've got a shot. Because the best the NFC has to offer isn't all that great this season. I can't wait till we play the Cowboys. Because that's another measuring stick game. Because they're one of the best this conference has to offer. We beat Tampa Bay already. We could have easily beaten Green Bay. I want to see what we do against Dallas. But anyway, I digress. Seahawks are in free fall mode. They stink. They're 3-6. And this isn't one of those, hey, they're going to turn it around. But everybody's alive. If you got 3 wins, you're alive. And they're still alive and well in the NFC because the 7 seed is for the taking. And if Russell Wilson and company figure it out and they get on their horse and they win 5 out of 6, they could be the 7 seed. I'm not counting them out yet because they still got one of the premier quarterbacks in the league, but their offense is disgusting right now. Ugh. They lose 17-0. Packers win. It wasn't pretty. The biggest news item from this game, Aaron Jones with an injury. It was feared to be something major. It turned out to be an MCL sprain, one that may keep him out 2 weeks or so. That's something that the Packers breathe in a sigh of relief because that could have been a lot more dangerous. And had he been out for any extended period of time and A.J. Dillon had to take over, that could have really hurt them because he's not only a good running back, he's also a big-time pass catcher for them out of the backfield. So, that is the Sunday slate of games. We've already done the Sunday night game on overtime. We did the Monday night game on overtime as well. Let's finish this show up by getting to garbage time. And I got a couple of super chats. I want to knock these out real quick, and then we will get out of here. So, Niners fan. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Niners fan, writes, Lou, yesterday was electric. I talked about you on the show last night because I knew you weren't going to be in the stream with us because you told us you were going to the game and you thought you were going to get killed. And I said, I agreed with you. And I said, you got a show. And you should have known. You've won 4 straight, now 5 straight against the Rams. You should have known you would have had a chance. I don't think you could have imagined it was going to be what it was, though, last night, 31-10. He says, lost my hearing. We own the Rams. The next 3 are all must wins. Jacksonville, Minnie, Seattle. Lose 1 and we're not getting that 7 seed. A lot of teams feel that way. You can lose 1 and still be in it, man. It really, what it boils down to is you need to take care of your business, as you just mentioned. But there are teams ahead of you, and they may come back to the pack. The Panthers are 5-5. They look like they're trying to run away and do some damage. But they could lose this week to Washington. They could lose moving forward. And they still got Tampa twice, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they've played Tampa at all yet. So they could come back to the pack, right? You know, Minnesota's got 4 wins. Who trusts Minnesota to do anything noteworthy? You know what I'm saying? Like, all those teams, Atlanta's got 4 wins. Really? Are you afraid? They just lost 43-3. So even if you lose one of those games, you're still going to be in the mix. It's so wide open. But to your point, you need to start stockpiling some wins. I feel the same way. The next 3 are huge for us. To get down to our final 5, which are all division games, these next 3 are huge. I don't know if we're going to win all 3 of them, but we need to win at least 2 out of the 3, preferably all 3 of them. So I'm with you. It's going to be a big stretch for these teams that have 3 wins. You have 4. So you're in a much better spot than us because you're 4-5. We're 3-6. So you could probably lose 1 and still be fine. because losing 1 out of the next 3 puts you at 6-6. You're right in the mix. Us, we lose 1, we're still under 500. We got to win all 3 just to get back to 500. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But anyway, got another super chat from Nick Caps, and I'm glad you enjoyed the game, and I'm glad your team really put on a show for you and showed out with you in attendance. Nick Caps, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Nick Caps writes, I'm late. Remember me. Wash 23, Tampa Bay 20. What? Tom Brady scores 20 versus this football team. Cam weak, gut check / measuring stick. LOL. I talked about you on the show yesterday on Overtime. I said, or I think I talked about you on Sunday on Overtime right after the game. I didn't remember who exactly it was, but I said, somebody said the score was going to be 23-20. And if you watched Overtime, then you know I talked about you. And I said, I mocked him. He told me it was going to be 23-20. I said, what? This defense is holding Tom Brady and that Buccaneers offensive attack to 20 points? Yeah, right. And I laughed at you. And then I told the story of how you were spot on. If their kicker makes the extra point, it would have been 23-20. Now, we still scored a touchdown at the end, but still, the fact that you were that close, I had to give you credit, Nick. So you were spot on. And yeah, this next game is huge. I don't necessarily know if it's a measuring stick. It's definitely a gut check, though. It's definitely a gut check for sure. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank everyone for joining me on the show. J-Mart, thank you for being a member of the MOBB for 2 months. I see you got your S on your chest, the S in squad. Thank you for your membership. He says, Lou, with Chase Young on IR, do we go after a DM? No. And if you haven't tuned in to today's Washington Football Nightly episode, you need to, because I talked about what they did effectively to take his roster spot with a move that they've made today and a couple of transactions actually that they've made. Ron's not looking for any help outside. He's keeping it internal. The guys that they've worked with in the offseason, the guys that were here in the preseason, they're sticking with those guys. They're going to give those guys opportunities. They're looking for homegrown product. They're not looking for any guys on the outside coming in and helping. Not right now. So, and he's done it with every position, tight end, every position. It's been guys from within, essentially. So, anyway, I digress. You guys, thank you for joining me tonight on this podcast. Look forward to chopping it up with you tomorrow. It'll be social media maneuvers. You know what it is. So come ready with all your comments so we can chop it up and have a good time. But in the meantime, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Take care. Get off the bench. Get in the game and kick it with me, your man, Louie T. As always, until next time, you guys have a good one. God bless and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.